Hey guys, it's Ted Bogert. We are back with the TED Show with an old dear friend of the TED Shows and mine, the one and only Beverly D. Burgess, the grant guru. We're going to talk about what's going on with her, all the stuff she's seeing behind the scenes. Don't we really want to know what's going on for 2021? And Beverly's going to give us some ideas and some things that might help, some opportunities, some things to kind of prepare for. So I always love having her on the show. Welcome back, Beverly. How you doing?
It is great to be back. Thank you for having me.
I'm always excited to have you on. You're always a wealth of information and good insight into a lot of things that people don't really know what's coming.
That's
so
right.
Before we dive into that, tell them a little bit about you.
Well, I was born and raised in Orlando, and I graduated from Jones in 1982. So I am a Jones High Tiger. Woohoo. And I'm going back to school to pursue my degree and finish that up. I fell into grant writing on a fluke and working in a low-income housing project. I've been at it now for 45 years.
Wow.
I spent 12 years with the state of Florida and 33 years with HUD doing grants for private Section 8 owners. So my job would be to go get Ted Bogert's money.
I'm liking the sound of that.
I've been in the industry, in the arena for 45 years. I have the Facebook group, which you're part of, Grant Writers of America. You see there's a lot of chiming in, a lot of dialogue in the group. People are asking questions, and that's our education platform.
Yes. You do a lot of education for people who are interested in not only learning how to write grants, but about what grants are out there. So let's talk a little bit about the grant process, because I think what we're going to be seeing is a lot more people looking for grants.
Correct.
So tell us a little bit about what you're seeing and hearing.
What I'm seeing and hearing is that a lot of people do not understand that the grant process is just that, a process. Most people don't realize they have to have an EIN number, which is from the IRS, a DUNS number. Some of them are not even registered with the state of Florida. So when a person comes to me or I'm teaching a class, I sit down with them and go over all of that paperwork, because it's a step-by-step process. Sure. And, I've even had, people get a hold of me and say, can you come up with a name? And I was like, no, you need to learn this process. So once I take them through that step-by-step process, I've been getting a lot of requests going into January to start teaching classes, because when you go after a grant, you're basically telling your story as to why they should award this money to you.
Yes.
So I'm beginning to, see, a lot of people are like, I've had several invitations from the state of North Carolina. They actually want me to come to North Carolina. And I said, with this COVID, we might have to do Zoom. And they said, well, if we can persuade you to come to North Carolina, you don't have to worry about anything.
Well, what's going on there? What's going on in North Carolina and the country that you see that there's a need for discussions about grants?
Well, what I'm seeing with North Carolina, there's about to be some massive housing fallout. And not just in North Carolina, we're going to be seeing it in the great state of Florida. We're looking at 3.5 million people being homeless in this state. And there is no infrastructure to help with that. And in North Carolina, what they're doing, I've never had so many pastors call me, and the pastors are banding together and working to help people in the community, because no one else is stepping up helping them with that. So pastors are collectively coming together saying, hey, we have this problem. We need to find resolutions and solutions. We don't need empty promises. And they're coming together and they're helping the people that are actually homeless, sleeping in, you're talking families sleeping in cars, not in North Carolina, but in the state of Florida as well.
It's very scary, because I feel like you and I were talking before we went live. Mm-hmm. We haven't seen the worst of the fallout from the pandemic. There are some markets that are flourishing. There are some people's businesses that are flourishing, but there are so many people who are out of work and continue to be out of work. And there's a lot of companies that are holding on for dear life that probably we will see leave in 2021.
That is correct and true, because I had the opportunity 6 months ago. I've been going out talking to bank presidents, talking to people in the community, but basically to the financial sector. And basically what the banks are saying, some of the banks will not recover. Some of the banks will go under, Beverly. We're already seeing people come in and turning their keys and just let the house go into foreclosure. And now the foreclosure process, normally people say it would take 2 or 3 years. Let me tell you something, Ted, they're swift. They have picked it up, and and the banks are saying, we don't want the houses. So what can we do? And no one's credit is perfect, but the banks have these stringent guidelines they have to go by. So that's where I came in with a team of HUD grant writers, and we wrote a program.
Yeah, tell us about that. That couldn't be any more better or timely.
Well, I was looking at what was happening up here in Pine Hills community. Even in my apartment complex, there are families sleeping in cars. And we're doing all we can to help those families get housing. So I reached out to some HUD grant writers that have been in the same industry I was in, and they're seeing it where they live. And I said, well, listen, between all of us, we got about 300 years of experience. So what can we do? So I actually wrote the technical side of the program, and the other grant writers went after the money. And they also went out there and talked to real estate investors in their community. And we did a small presentation to HUD a couple of weeks ago, and they looked at it and they said, you know what? This could work, because no one has perfect credit. The banks do not want to go under. The banks, need to save face, because they use your money. They don't use their money. They use their money. And they said this program that you've written could actually not only save the state of Florida, but it could save a nation, because we have got to work together to keep people in their homes. And when you keep somebody with a roof over their head, Ted, and you know this, you just solve 50% of their problem.
Well, that's the thing. Like we were talking about before we went live, my community initiative, the TED's community. Right. And so we as a neighborhood, as communities, as cities, as areas, regions, states, we have to come together and figure out the solution on our own, because I think we've all experienced what it's like depending on outside forces to make everything better. We just sit and wait.
And you know what? You just can't sit and wait. And so, I go back to the pastors in North Carolina, and it was it was a beautiful thing to see 50 pastors, if not more, come together. And they were not just concentrating on one particular area. They're dealing with the whole state. And they said, Miss Burgess, no one has any infrastructure in place. No one has a plan, and we're not going to go back and ask them. We're going to come up with our own plan. So that's what they did. And I said, well, why are you calling me? And they said, well, you're the grant guru. We need you to come to North Carolina.
I love it. So you're focusing on your grant writing at this point is focusing primarily on trying to address the housing issue.
Yes.
And so what does that mean as far as, you hear about, we'll take our area, for example. There's so much growth. There's a lot of companies coming in. There's a lot of discussion about addressing the housing needs that we have in our area. What are you seeing? And do you have some ideas on how we can make it actually work?
Well, I know Orlando is growing. Orange County is growing by leaps and bounds. But let's be realistic, Ted. Walt Disney in the last month just let 60,000 people go. Universal let 14,000 people go, and more layoffs are coming. Now, there's nothing wrong with growing, but there has to be a plan in place to deal with the housing fallout.
Yes.
And, what I see is growth over here. But to the right of me, I see people with no jobs. So how do you mesh that up? Well, the growth industry has to be able to come to people collectively in the community, like you and myself and other people in the community, and say, hey, We want to hire these people, but these people are homeless. And in the middle ground, that is where I come in and say, hey, I designed this plan. I trademarked, I copyrighted, you put the copyrights on it. And this is a housing plan that I wrote and developed with a team of HUD experts, and it can work. But if no one wants to listen to that, Orlando is going to start looking like Los Angeles, where you got people sleeping on the sidewalks, people in the streets, and they can't touch them, Ted, because the sidewalks in the streets are public access. You can't arrest them. So do you want 500,000 people sleeping in the street? Or do you want to, let's say, hey, let's put our differences aside. Let's work with the grant guru and Ted's community, and let's solve this problem.
That's right. Take it back. We got to do it. I feel like part of the thing we've all struggled with is that we want to do something, but we don't know how to do it. We want to do better, and we want to see our communities thrive, but either our resources, because we're out of work, or we've had a challenge in housing, and so we're so focused on our own problems that it's hard to see the big picture and how it can all work together. Beverly, obviously, all of us, we've had our own issues, challenges.
That's true.
Everybody's had a financial challenge. I mean, it's been a fascinating 5, 7, 8, 10 years. And now this 2021, which everyone is looking forward to, and I am too, we're going to have a new set of challenges that are pandemic related, but that are very financial and housing related.
And not just housing, but also you're going to, when I talk to the pastors in North Carolina, you're going to see the suicide rate go up. You're going to see people with mental health problems. You're going to see, and they just put it out there. They said, there will be a lot of death. You know why? Because people will feel that no one cares. No one is reaching out to help them. And me, Ted, I am passionate. I love what I do. And you're a grant writer as well, but you have this ability to reach people. Whereas myself, I like to sit at a desk and write grants all day. That's what I do. And before we let something like that happen collectively, as the pastors in North Carolina said to me, and I had all 50 of them on my screen, they were just like, if we don't come together as a nation, as a people, and start helping each other in our own communities, the suicide rate is going to probably triple.
It's just a very, very scary time, because I think people are so COVID tired. They're pandemic tired. They're quarantine tired. They're tired of hearing all the negative, bad news. And so they just we all become desensitized.
Yes.
To it. But the desensitization is a bad place to allow yourself to be, because then you're going to get hit upside the head when the big stuff starts to happen in 2021. All right, so let's talk about grants. What kind of grants can people reach out to you to talk about? What kind of grants? I think you have your finger on every pulse of grants all over the place. Tell them a little bit about how they reach out to you, and maybe how they can learn more, and maybe learn how to be one of your understudies at the Grant Guru.
Well, my pride and joy now is, focusing on the housing grants. I just pulled a $1 million grant for HBCUs where they're doing smart housing. And I just pulled a $300,000 grant where they will pay you to go virtual and just conversate with Canada. They just want you to talk. That's all they want you to do. Wow. So I do a multi-level of grants. And of course, I was on the corporate side of things. I did corporate grant writing for the state of Florida for those 12 years because it was my job to go get it. And, I'm pretty much open to every grant. The only grants that I don't do are medical grants, which is your arena. And, working with Michelle Hicks, who is the senior managing partner for Grant Writers of America, Carrie Roberts and Jim Madison, and then that amazing team of HUD grant writers, I don't think there isn't a grant that we can't talk about. So if they want to reach out to me, they can reach out to me at Beverly Burgess, Beverly Burgess 51 @gmail.com. Or they can give me a call, and trust me, Ted knows I answer my phone.
She does.
At 407-692-5602. And let's start talking and coming up with plans to help you stay in business, to help you stay in your home. I just found another grant where they're actually paying caregivers who have, elderly parents like I do. There's a state/federal grant that pays you to take care of your parents. Most people didn't even know it existed.
People don't know that kind of stuff, Beverly. That's why if you have a business, an idea, a startup, a need, you should reach out to Beverly first and see if she can figure that out with all of her tentacles all over the grant world. Is the website I have scrolling down there at the bottom also good?
They can come, reach out to me there. We've actually been working with Vistaprint. We're working on a partnership with them now. It goes back to what you said, Ted. There is so much going on. People are just so tired of COVID. People are looking for resolution. Yes, and this is where we have to come together. And Ted Bogert knows I will go find him a Tiffany grant, clothing grant, whatever.
I'm ready for that grant.
He's always ready for that.
And all right, you're an absolute joy. Guys, seriously, think about it. Think about all of the stuff that is going on. If there's a grant out there, Beverly Burgess is going to find it because she's the grant guru. Reach out to her. She'll answer any of your questions. It doesn't matter how basic it is or how complicated it is. If she doesn't know the answer, she'll find it. You are an absolute joy always to have on the show. Thank you so much for all you do in the community and for our world. It's what we need to do. I know you and I are both going to be working toward the same goal in 2021, trying to take our communities back and help our communities on our own within our communities instead of being so reliant.
And Ted Bogert knows. He knows how to find me, guys. He has all of my cell phone numbers. He has my email. He can call me, and if Ted doesn't know, he knows he can call me, and I'll find. If I don't know the answer, I'll go find the answer, and that's what I do for a living. And I am passionate. I love what I do.
She's amazing. All right. Merry Christmas. Happy holidays.
Merry Christmas. Happy holidays.
Beverly Burgess, the grant guru. You guys reach out to her. I know you have ideas. I had a lot of people before we went live ask me about grants and what kind of grants there are. That is definitely Beverly's arena. So please feel free to reach out to her. If you can't find her, I will get you in touch with her. Thank you for all you do, Beverly. Appreciate you. All right. We'll see you guys soon. Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.